Okay, in today's lesson, we're going to be looking at 5.3i, represent and solve multiplication of a whole number and a fraction using objects and models. So what's important here is to be able to represent and to solve multiplication of a whole number and a fraction using objects and models. Specifically the area model we're going to be looking at. So let's begin. Before I start, I just want to do a quick review of the concept of multiplication, especially with my model. So I'm just going to do a really quick review. One of the things I want to review is that the order in which you multiply does not matter. You're going to get the same answer. So we all know 3 times 2 and 2 times 3, they equal 6. And that's perfect. We should know that. It's multiplication fact. What's important is the words that we should be thinking when we see that multiplication symbol. So the words that you should be thinking are groups of. So for both of them, the same thing. So 3 groups of 2. What I want you to see here is even though we're getting the same answer, where our picture is going to look a little bit different. Okay, so I want to do 3 groups of 2. So 3 groups of 2. So I got 2 plus 2 plus 2, which equals 6, right? 2, 2, and 2. So I got 3 groups of 2. For this one represents 2 groups of 3. So in this case, I'm going to have 2 groups of 3. So I have 3 here, equals 6. It's the exact same concept for fractions. So when we look at models and pictures, sometimes you're going to see that if I flip the numbers, it would give me the same answer, the reciprocal. So I want to show you that. I wanted to start off with this as just a review and reminder that you can do that, and also that multiplication is repeated addition. You're just adding over and over the same number. Okay, so let's begin with our first example. And we are going to start with the whole number times a fraction. The next example will be a fraction times a whole number, just so you can see the difference. So we have 4 times 1/3. Or in this case, I'm going to write it in words because this is what I want to be thinking. 4 groups of 1/3. That makes sense. So I have 4 groups of what number? 1/3. So I want to represent that. I want to show 4 groups of 1/3. Let me draw a 1/3. And shade it in. There's 1/3. And I want to do that 4 times. I'm going to have to make that smaller so I can actually stay on the page. Okay, so just like I just showed you with the 3 times 2 and 2 times 3, I have 1/3 over and over 4 times. So if I were to add them up, I would get 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. And if I remember with adding fractions, my denominator stays the same because all of these are thirds. I'm just putting thirds together. 4 over 3. Okay? Another way that you can do this to kind of bring that improper fraction to a mixed number is think, okay, I have 4 1/3, so I'm going to draw out my thirds. I want to fit 4 in there. Well, I can do 1, 2, 3. Well, I need to draw one more to fit that last one. So I see my answer is 1 and 1/3. Okay? Or you could have taken that 4/3, subtracted out a whole number, which leaves you with 1. So this whole number, I have a whole with 1 left over, and my denominator stays the same. In the end, we'll get the same answer. Okay? 1 and 1/3. Okay. Another way you'll see it is the area model. So just like whole numbers, it's the same thing. I'm going to draw up my 4. So on this side, I want to have 4 going that way. So I'm just going to set it up. I'm going to set up my box. And I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now I want to have 1/3. I'm going to put 1/3 over here because that's where I want it. I have to split this into thirds. So I have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 all the way down. I count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4. gives me the same answer, and we already know 4/3 is the same thing as 1 1/3 from the work we did on top. Okay? Now, this is I guess the easy part is showing you how to multiply with just numbers, just the standard algorithm. So under every whole number, there's a 1. There's always a 1 under every whole number. We just don't write it unless we're multiplying fractions. So now I'm going to write my 1, and with multiplication, I'm just multiplying across. Okay? So 4 times 1, 4. 1 times 3, 3, which we already know. Same thing as 1 and 1/3. Okay? So there's a couple models that you can use for multiplying a whole number times a fraction. Now let's move on to a fraction times a whole number. It's a little bit different, especially what I'm thinking. So 3/4 groups of 2 doesn't make sense. So sometimes you have to drop the groups, the word groups. In this case, what makes sense is 3/4 of, I'm going to put this arrow so you don't get confused, 2. So you're doing 3/4 of this amount. Okay? So for the sake of pictures, I'm going to change my picture up. I'm going to go to circles. So I have to have 3/4 of 2. I'm going to draw out my 2 because that's what I have, and I want 3/4 of it. I'm going to split up the fourths, and I'm going to shade in 3/4. 3/4, 3/4. And we already know it's repeated addition, so it's the same thing as adding, which is 6/4. Okay? So again, if we're struggling with going from improper to mixed numbers, you can come over here and figure out, okay, what does 6/4 look like? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I need space for 2 more. So I'm going to have to draw another one. 1, 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see now that I have 1, and it is 2/4, but also you're going to see if I simplified, it is 2/4, but when I simplify, it's the same thing. I'm going to divide by 2. It's the same thing as half. So my answer is 1 1/2. Okay? That's just another way you can see it using the pictures. Here's the area model. Like I said, it's going to look a little bit different. I'm going to show my 3/4 on this side. Whoops. So I'm going to draw my box since I'm using area, and I want to show 3/4. There's my 3/4. Okay. I could shade it in, but I'm just going to wait since I'm using a black marker. You're not going to see this too well if I shade it in first. I'm going to draw my 2, so I need to split this into 2 pieces. Now I can shade in my 3/4 just so you can see it better. That's 3/4. 1, 2, 3 out of 4, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/4. Okay, so 6/4, which I already know is the same thing as 1 1/2. The last step is just multiplying it with standard algorithm. So like I said, under every whole number, there's a 1. So 3/4 times 2/1, which will give you 6/4. And we already know from the work we've done, that's the same thing as 1 1/2. Hope this helps.